Coach Mike, man, if you're ready, man, I want to see how you feel about some of the questions we have from the audience this week.
I am ready, man. Let's get it going.
Let's check out question number 1 for Coach Mike. Coach Mike, can I sell my home before foreclosure if the HOA places a lien on the property and use the proceeds to settle the lien?
You know what? That's an excellent question, Rick. And, here's the reality when it comes to foreclosure, right? Until it actually goes to auction, there's a number of options that you can take advantage of to prevent that foreclosure from moving forward. What people got to realize is that, a bank or an HOA, they're not trying to get a property, right? That's not the business that they're in. Like the bank is not in the business of real estate. The bank is in the business of lending money. Homeowner association is not in the business of real estate. They're in the business of managing associations. So the last thing that they want to do is foreclose. For them, it becomes very costly because now they have to control the property, meaning that they have to secure it. They have to pay for that. They have to pay the foreclosure attorneys. So things are just highly escalated when a foreclosure is being threatened. Most of these institutions foreclose on properties because of lack of communication, right? So that's why we encourage people, when you're finding yourself in that situation, the last thing you want to do is go silent, right? You want to continue to keep the lines of communication open. So the bank or the homeowner association knows that you're actively wanting to do something, working on doing something to remedy the situation. All right. So to the person's question, can they sell their home? Absolutely. That is absolutely one of the things that you can exercise when you're facing foreclosure. It's putting your house on the market, selling that property, as long as the amount that you're going to get for the purchase of the property, as long as that is more than what is owed on the property. When you add up all the liens, so vendors liens, HOA liens, mechanics lien, any liens that you have on the property, the amount that you receive has to be more than the amount that's owed or the debt against the property. Now, there are certain instances where you could utilize a vehicle called a short sale. And in that short sale, that's when the house is where it is not worth more, where it's upside down. Like that's a term that people are familiar with, meaning that the debt against the property is more than what the amount you could sell it for. So that's upside down or underwater. Well, you can utilize what's called a short sale, and that's, again, selling the property, but the lien holders recognize that they're not going to be getting all their money. So you begin to negotiate with those lien holders, and they accept those terms because, remember, at the end of the day, they don't want real estate. They're not in that business, so they don't want to have to be worried about what to do with it. They're just trying to recoup their money.
I appreciate you sharing that advice with the members of our audience, Coach Mike, but I want to give you a follow-up question. For those that are dealing with these type of challenges or issues, why is it, in your experience, have they not reached out to a real estate professional as far as being able to use that expertise and knowledge that a real estate professional has to show them the different alternatives and the different options that they have to get these type of issues remedied? Coach Mike, why is it that you think foreclosure is even a thing, and why is it that these people who are suffering through this hasn't reached out to a professional before it's gotten to that point, you think?
Well, I think it's just one of those things that people do, man. They suffer in silence. It can be an extremely emotionally charged situation. So, and it can be embarrassing, right? So people, they don't want to reach out for help. And it's the worst decision that they can make is not reaching out. So, we empathize with people's circumstances, and I kind of understand why. So that's why, as real estate professionals, we have to make sure people understand that it's a safe place, that it's a safe space. Like if you need assistance when it comes to not losing your home, right? That there are options out there to where you can avoid having foreclosure on your credit report. You can avoid, even put yourself in a position where it's not so stressed because you have to now get out, or you're dealing with the uncertainty about what's going to happen next after the foreclosure sale. You can eliminate all those negative emotions and take a more educated approach, more strategic approach to dealing with what's going on with your real estate. So I think it's just those things is why, Rick.
And look, I urge everyone in the audience, if you're in this position, you know someone's in this position, have them give myself, Coach Mike, a call. Reach out to us on Instagram. You can schedule a private homeowners consultation where you can talk about the challenges that you're dealing with. Coach Mike and myself would just love to talk to you, consult with you, and let you know what your options are. Because no matter how daunting the challenge may be, with the right professionals in your corner, you can get all these things worked out. And not only will it not be a problem anymore, it could work out to your benefit. So definitely do not suffer in silence. Reach out to your nearest real estate professional as soon as possible, because these type of things does not have to be something that wrecks your financial future or damages your credit profile. So I urge everyone to take Coach Mike's advice. You know, man, it's amazing, Coach Mike, how concise and clearly you can educate these really complex topics. That's what's one of the great things about hosting this particular show with you. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your expertise with our audience. You know, we have some other questions that have been submitted. I'm really curious to see how you can help out the people who submitted these questions. So, Coach Mike, if you're ready, I want to see how you feel about question number 2.
Let's do it, Rick. I'm ready.
Let's check it out. Coach Mike, what does the $2 billion realtor lawsuit mean for home buyers and sellers?
You know, Rick, and I know you probably been getting this question a lot as well. Yes. About how that's going to impact things. Well, you know, the reality, Rick, none of us has a magic ball, right? So we don't necessarily know how it's going to ultimately impact. But this is what I can say, Rick. It's clear that the market finds value in representation when it comes to real estate transactions. It's clear that the market finds it being a real estate professional, representing buyers in the sale of a transaction, representing sellers in the sale of that it's a healthy component to the industry. And the real estate industry itself is a healthy component to the U.S. economy. It's a very major piece to the U.S. economy. So understanding that, Rick, how it's going to specifically shake out, I don't know. But what I can tell you is it's not going to force buyer's agents out. It's not going to force listing agents out, right? There may have to be some adjustments or some modifications when it comes to the compensation structure. But the reality, Rick, is that I don't think it's going to be as major of a restructure of compensation as people think. I think what's going to happen, I don't think it's necessarily going to affect home buyers and home sellers. What is going to affect really, Rick, is real estate professionals. They're going to have to become more skilled in how they articulate their value to the consumer, right? They're going to have to really be able to show what value, the value that we bring to the transaction. No longer can we continue going and accepting the consumer to undervalue us. That's not going to work, right? Mm-hmm. Because the moment that you take a buyer's agent out of the equation, I'm not even talking about the listing agent, but the moment you take a buyer's agent out of the equation, there's eventually it's not that it's going to stop lawsuits. They're going to be more lawsuits, and the lawsuits they're just going to go from the lawsuit being between the realtor and the seller. They're going to go between the seller and the buyer. Right? Buyers are going to begin to sue these sellers. They're going to begin to sue these builders because they're going to feel like nobody was there to explain to them the process. And they're going to feel like they got hosed. They're going to feel like they got taken advantage of. And right now, buyer's representation protects people from having to experience that because you have somebody that's well-versed to guide someone through the process. So, I think at the end of the day, Rick, it's just us as professionals are just going to have to step our game up, and we're going to have to become better at articulating. Not only will we have to become more valuable and become more skilled, but we're going to have to become better at articulating that to the consumer, how much value we bring to them.
And, I agree totally, Coach Mike. And I think one of the more interesting parts about what you just mentioned is how as real estate professionals, we have to do a better job of illustrating our value. And when Coach Mike and I are discussing value, what we mean is your expertise, your experience, your education, and your knowledge. That's what makes being a member and a part of the Brooks and Davis real estate family so powerful, is because education and mentorship is a foundation of the entire brokerage. Coach Mike, I know you talk about this so much in your individual coaching, but for the members of our audience that don't have the opportunity to sit down with you individually on a weekly basis, could you just talk about how important it is for you, even with your experience, to continuously look for better ways to educate yourself, more ways to add tools to your tool belt so that you can better serve the buying and selling public?
Yeah, no, I think that's a, Rick, as a brokerage firm, right, that's serving close to 100 individuals, they trust us with their success. I think it's important that we constantly, and I'll say me personally, that I'm constantly made aware of the resources that are in the marketplace, the tools, enhance my knowledge as it relates to what is going on, what's transitioning, and not just in the local market, but just across the United States, because there are methods, there are techniques, there are things that are being utilized in other parts of the country that could be utilized in our marketplace to help with some of the challenges that we have here in our local market, like housing attainability. Rick, I was on a call today with a local builder, has about 19 properties that they're in the process of building, and we're having a conversation about how can he get more of a particular profile that he's looking for. He's wanting to help more people that are in his submarkets purchase his homes that are priced under $300,000. And he's perplexed because he's not understanding why has it been so hard and challenging for him to be able to get those individuals when everybody's talking about the issues of housing affordability and housing attainability in the city. I was just had a conversation with a guy today, and we're going to be doing some work with them, Brooks and Davis is, to help them with that issue. But those are the things as the CEO and broker of Brooks and Davis that I have to constantly put myself in position to, so it can filter down to our agents and have more opportunities for our agents to help more people get into homes.
And I thank you so much for sharing, Coach Mike, because I want that to serve as an example to the other real estate professionals in our audience about how you go about building value in yourself. So that when you go out and you're doing listing presentations, you can talk about your sphere of influence, your professional network, and how that's going to benefit the seller of that property to maximize what they take home. So appreciate you so much, Coach Mike, for sharing that information.
No, absolutely.
Go ahead, Coach.
No, well, I was just going to say, one of the things that I told the gentleman that I was meeting with, I have a relationship with a young lady that has a list of maybe 1,000 people that are in various parts of getting prepared for home ownership, right? So, we don't necessarily need to look any further than that relationship. So for me, I told him, hey, look, I'm a broker of that relationship, right? It doesn't always necessarily have to be, sign my paperwork, I make this commitment, employ me, hire me. It doesn't necessarily have to be that. Like, if you have something of value and you can put the pieces together, there is a compensation opportunity there for you to be had, whether you have a listing agreement in place or not. At the end of the day, this man wants to sell his units, and this young lady wants to get her clients into homes, period. If I do that or we do that successfully, they don't have any problem paying.
Right. No, I thank you so much, Coach Mike, because the type of questions that you're fielding tonight, there are so many real estate professionals, tenured, new, experienced, inexperienced, who are all dealing with a similar issue, just with a little bit of nuance. There's always gray areas.
Yeah.
That's why I appreciate you taking some time on Monday nights to sit down and talk about such broad topics. Yeah. Because coming off the weekend, Coach Mike, there's so much moving and shaking going on Saturdays and Sundays that this show on Monday nights are probably the first opportunity that a lot of these real estate professionals have had to share some of these challenges and actually get an unbiased third-party perspective on how they can not only work through those issues, but also possibly bring share some